Good morning, everybody. We're here for the next several days to help you realize your ambitions, your dreams, and although I said last night money's not the only benchmark, it's the only benchmark anybody keeps track of. Nobody asks you how happy you are. Maybe in Austria they do, but nobody gives a shit how happy you are, etc. Now, this seminar is for high-performance people, and by definition, you have segregated yourself, so to speak, because you're here, and you paid a lot of money to be here, and that separates you from the wheat from the chaff from the very beginning. And not only did it cost what most people would consider a lot of money to be here, you had to get here. You had to pay to get here. And some of you don't live close. Like James lives in Australia, a long, long way away. But you're here, so you've differentiated yourself. And so the beginning of this seminar is how we continue to differentiate ourselves from the pack. Now, I don't look like the normal seminar presenter. I don't dress. I don't talk. I'm older than most of them, except for Ted Nicholas and a couple. And I certainly don't have separated myself from the pack in the last 20 years. I had my 20-year anniversary a few months ago. I'm the only one that lives in a castle. I own it. It's actually a trust owns it. I trust. There's a Bentley and a DB9 out in front of my house. Now, I can go on and on and on and on to illustrate how I differentiate myself from the rest of the fucking bums. But that's part of the reason you're here. I also don't talk like the rest of the fucking bums. And when we talk about communication, message sent, message received, and message acted upon, when you want them to act upon it, you'll see that other high-performance people don't talk like the seminar presenters. There's nothing politically correct about any of the high-performance people that I'm going to talk about. Nothing. And in fact, many of the people that I'm going to refer to over the next several days were high-performance before PC was invented or initiated. Now, I'm lucky because one of the true attributes that I have is I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. And Doris does, you do, all of you do. You just fucking do. And who do we blame for that? Our fucking parents! They fucked us up. And who fucked them up? Their parents. And who fucked them up? Their parents. And I've had people in this room, and when we used to give a seminar in the castle, grandfather, daughter, granddaughter. And when I start going through that part of the seminar, the daughter looks at the mother looks at the father, and they all say, yeah. But we are what we are. And when you feel those inhibitions released, Steve Jobs had no inhibitions. He was a ruthless guy. Exceedingly bright, gifted, didn't go to university, had a half a semester, if my memory serves me correctly. These guys are tough. Tough as fucking nails. And you want to know why you're not being as successful as you'd like to be in the same world that I compete. Now, I asked you, or I told you all to read my last newsletter, newsletter 99. We're going to talk about that off and on. And it's very cathartic for me to talk about the stuff that I talked about. But one of the things I talk about are the regrets we have. And one of my goals is for Doris, in another 10 or 20 or 30 years, to have as few regrets as humanly possible. We all have them. I have them. And I talk about a couple of them in the newsletter. When you're 25, 30, 35 years old, you don't think about the regrets. My own kids don't think about the regrets. I can tell you. My son just got married here a week ago. And they're good kids, they're well educated, they're slappy happy, but they don't worry about the things they're going to worry about in 30 years from now. Because mistakenly, you're all told you have a lot of time. When you don't. One day you're going to fucking wake up and you'll be 45 and not successful. Then what the fuck do you do? We've had people here as old as 77 come to the seminar, and we've had people here as young as 13. The 13-year-old paid for herself from a trust because her dad died. We've had two twin brothers, 16 or 17, come. They paid for themselves out of their trust, and they brought their mom. Paid for her too. And during the breaks, the mother would ask me, God, I mean, you really talk violent. Well, yesterday, my last workout for the week, because as I told Theodore, I don't have time to work out because I'm spending time with you. In the gym, I was watching a program on Sparta, the Spartans. When I was in Sparta last year, I felt the kindred spirit standing up on the hill. I had been there before. And you know, they take the kids away from their fucking mothers when they're 7 years old. 7. And the kids that don't make it, they threw in this big hole for them to die. And from 7 to 12, they go through all this training. Our self-esteem is built from 0 to 7 or 8. It's like the Catholic Church says, you give me your child from 0 to 7 or 8, and they don't put it this way, and I'll own them. I'm a Catholic-raised kid that happened to break free of my bonds. So everything, and we're going to talk about how 50% of our intellectual abilities and IQ is happens in gestation, in the first, second, and third trimester. Some people say in the first trimester. That's why my kids will tell you, we've heard Dad talking about the 5 credo crap, is what they call it, since we were in Mommy's tummy. I didn't know it was 5 credo crap then because I hadn't developed QLA. But I've been talking the same stuff for over 40 years. I didn't know it was revolutionary 40 years ago. But the best training that I had, as I happened to be blessed, when I volunteered for the draft in the middle of the Vietnam War, I went through Officers Candidate School, infantry, went through Ranger training and all that stuff, when it was brutal, not now when you can go home at night to see your fucking wife and kids. And that trained me. And that trained me and gave me discipline. Most people that come to this seminar think they have discipline, but they have no fucking discipline. I will be just as fired up the last 5 minutes of this seminar a week from now. And you'll be tired, you'll be standing up against the walls trying to stay awake. Because you're cunts. And the real world, the guys that I compete with, eat people like you for lunch, breakfast, hors d'oeuvres, canapes. Now, you saw The Devil Wears Prada last night, right? I changed the movies around now since I saw that, not just because my daughter goes to graduate school at Northwestern, because the kid in the movie's a Northwestern kid, but because most of you, probably none of you, have ever worked for anybody like that. The woman, played by Meryl Streep. I have been privileged. As I said during the movie, when they used to call me at 3 o'clock in the morning, the chairman of the company, I was privileged. Some of the other people that got called in the middle of the night, because the big high-performance people don't sleep. They thought it was insulting. One of my successful mentees worked for Nestle for several years. I can't remember the name of the chairman, not the current chairman, but the chairman, a couple of chairmans ago, Swiss company. One of the high performers on Fast Track got called at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning by the chairman, and she complained about it. Now, needless to say, she was not on the Fast Track anymore. But now, Like up here I complain, how can you get anything fucking done in 35 hours a week? And they probably even work less in Switzerland and Austria. You'll see when we go through who gets vacation, who doesn't get vacation. There's no mandatory vacation in the United States. Zero. The average work week and all these things that we measure against the French, the Swiss, the German. America's up here, everybody else is down here. There's a reason why, even with all its problems, the United States is considered the most productive country in the world. Forget Obama, forget all that shit. Okay? We make money there in spite of our fucking selves. No matter how much we step on our dick, we continue to expand. There's a reason for that. Australia comes second to that. And that's why, you know, a lot of people say Australians are like Americans. Kind of quasi-Americans. But they were just convicts. The goddamn Brits isolated them down there like fucking lepers. Having met a few of them down there the last 10 days because I celebrated my birthday, I can understand why they were separated. But it's a different frame of thought. And for those of you that are going to watch this on YouTube, watch The Devil Wears Prada, you miserable, lazy bastards. Because that's what it's like. My assistant here normally works 32 hours a week when I'm not here. Last time I was here, she worked 90 fucking hours in the week. Now Megan, who's behind the camera, because she's the castle manageress, whatever that means. Can't call her manager now, manageress. Sounds like a French hooker, you know. Works long hours. So we're going to cover a lot of stuff. And I'm going to talk like this, and I'll be talking like this up to the very end. Make sure you book your times with me, with Kim, for your individual time. I've read all your papers, but I'll read them again. And as I put in my tweets during the last several days, I've spent at least 1 hour in preparation for every hour of this seminar in the last week. So I've got about 60 hours in, and I could give this motherfucker in my sleep. I know what all 1,200 slides are without looking at them. But I still prepared 60 hours. Now why did I do that? Because I had nothing better to do? No. Because I'm a professional. And a professional, as Alistair Cook, the famous BBC presenter, said, is doing a fine job when you don't fucking feel like it. I added the fucking. You think every day I feel like talking to you morons? No. But I'll be just as fired up with just the same amount of energy every fucking day I'm up here. Every hour. Okay.